Okay, so I'll be doing some short videos on how to do some things in MathXL as I come across them, and people ask questions. So one of the questions that has come up is how do I view student results and or student responses to an assignment or an assessment that I've given? And so sixth grade just gave a benchmark, and we've spent some time reviewing that. So we've discovered that in order to look at an assignment or an item from an assignment, the place to start is to go to the gradebook. Now this looks nothing like a gradebook to me. It's just a class roster. What we need to do in this case is click assignments and then all assignments. This looks much more like a gradebook, and so you can see it is keeping a score on these students. It's got a bunch of past due stuff, but this was just things we were using to kind of learn the ropes for MathXL ourselves, not necessarily the students. These two assignments are two assignments that most students have completed, which was the benchmark review and the benchmark. These percents here across the top are just the default weights that MathXL applies to an assignment, so they're basically meaningless for us and our students. This next score right here is the class average. And so of the students that completed the assignment, this is going to be the average score that a student earned. And then of course down here, we've got individual scores by each student. So for this benchmark, let's say that I was curious about how Xavier here ended up with an 80%. I can click that, and I could say, hey, I want to go to an item analysis for Xavier and see which questions he missed. He missed question 1 and question 9. But that's pretty much worthless to me in terms of trying to figure out what really happened, because I can't see what Xavier's responses were. What I need to do if I want to see what his responses were is, instead of clicking item analysis, click review. I basically still get an item analysis over here, because if he got it wrong, it will be red, like 1 and 9. And if he got it right, it will be green like the rest of these. I'll use question 9 as my example for this, because if I'm curious about what a student, it's an easier question to deal with. If I'm curious about what a student did right or did wrong, I was a little bit confused when I first looked, because I was like, wait a second, 25 and -3 is the correct answer. Why did this get counted wrong for Xavier? It turns out that MathXL is going to provide the correct answer here instead of the student response. If we want to see the student response, we can click the box, and it will show us what the student entered. So in this case, Xavier entered 8 instead of 25. I'm not sure where 8 came from. And he entered 25 instead of -3. And then if you can see, there is get answer feedback here. MathXL for the student will try to provide a little bit of information about what they could do differently next time to make sure that they get this right. But that's where we're at with that. And so that's how we can look at student responses, quickly see which ones they got incorrect, and then look at what their answer was, and maybe be able to figure out what their misconception was. And so again, here, instead of answering 20, Xavier answered 31. Beyond that, the other thing we can do here, and pardon my clunkiness, I'm still getting used to this tool. I might just have to quit. Okay. If I wanted to see an item analysis for my entire class, like I wonder which question my students did the best on, or which questions they did the worst on, that sort of thing. I didn't talk about it before I did it. I can click the class average, and the class average will take me to an item analysis for the entire class. And so number correct, number of students who got the item correct, number of students who got the item incorrect. It also shows me the average time spent. We can see that number 1 was by far the most difficult question for students, followed by number 7 and number 8. And so if I was going through this, I might be curious about, hey, what exactly was question 1, and what exactly were questions 7 and 8? And if I click over here, I can get an example of what that question would look like. And so this question was identifying the coordinates that a point was located at. And so what's already come out in our conversation in PLC was that many students entered, in this case, -4 and -3, without parentheses around the outside. or they entered something like -4 over -3 because they just weren't sure how to put their thinking into this response box. And so this is kind of one of the learning curves of MathXL. Miss White told me that this button here was not working for students when they were trying to click it. I'm unsure why, but you can use these buttons down here to do that, or you can use like Shift 9 to put a parenthesis in, that sort of thing. I don't know if you need to be clicked in. You have to be clicked inside the box for these tools down here to work. And so if your students are not able to use these tools, remind them to click inside the box first. Then the tools will work, hopefully. But that's kind of a synopsis of how you can look at student results uh, by student, what their answers were, what the correct answer was, and then as well as just a quick overview of your class of where we scored really well and where we had some areas for improvement. I hope this is helpful, and I hope you have an awesome day.